The last house rule is a little bit different. The last house rule is just R.
Thank you, Manuel, for being here. We have been trying to run this podcast for a couple of years now, and I'm super happy that we are finally here. Very briefly, for whoever doesn't know you, you are an entrepreneur for 20 years, founder of Pirate Summit, the craziest and coolest conference, tech conference, and startup conference in Europe, founder of PirateX, an investor at Division 5. So you have been through the roller coaster of entrepreneurship, investment, etc. for quite some time now. Welcome.
Yeah, really, really cool. And I'm really happy that we do this at last, really, because we wanted to do this. And I'm also happy to be on one of the first shows. Really curious to see where this, maybe in a few months or years, we'll talk about this very, one of the first episodes, the second episode, and look back, hey, this is where it all started. It was an idea. And then at some point, we actually started. Really, really cool. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great. Perfect. I would love to start with Pirate Summit. It's a conference I've been a part of for 3 or 4 times. It's a conference that I think has changed many people's lives. So the natural question for me would be, why did you feel the need to start such an event and then run it for so many years?
So Pirate Summit was actually born like all great initiatives are born. They came out of a desire or a feeling that there is something missing in the market, or there's something missing in the world, let's put it that way. And then we were very naive and just decided, let's just create our own thing. Let's create an event, an experience, a conference that we wanted to go to, because all the experiences or all the events that we knew were kind of stiff, kind of business-like, kind of like same. And we wanted to really do something different. And then we looked around, and then we found this crazy location. And once you get that, you get
right?
Yeah, Odonian in Cologne, which is more like an art, kind of arty vibe, scrapyard, a lot of metal art. Thing. There's a helicopter there, a big boat there, a plane there, and all of these things put together in art installations. Really, really nice. And once you get this location, and that inspired us to really think out of the box, really, really go big, or not big, but really think about something we wouldn't have imagined otherwise. And yeah, that's how it essentially started. A few people, very naive, wanting to fix their own problem.
How many people?
Wanting to create something. We were 8 at the time. There were 4 entrepreneurs and 4 students, basically. And we found each other over time. And then we just started, okay, let's do this thing. It was never intended to be a business in any sense. It was just, let's just create this. And it was never intended to run for a long time. We did it. 220 people showed up, really good people from the 220, yes. But we had a very international crowd, which was surprising, but we had a strong network in the beginning, and people trusted that network that, okay, something is good brewing there, something good is probably happening. These people came, and then we got good feedback, and people said, you really have to do this again. We did this again, and then, it ran until 2023. So basically 13 years. Which was pretty crazy, actually. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know how, as I said before, it impacted the lives of so many people. What did Pirate Summit mean to you as the founder and the guy who was behind all of it?
Yeah, good question. So I keep hearing that it impacted quite a few lives, and I'm extremely grateful. And also, that's certainly one of the missions. It certainly did impact mine in quite a few ways. It wasn't always easy, to be very honest. It was a lot of sweat, some blood, a few tears over the years, which I guess a project of that size comes with. But it's a place that I would call home. I don't know if that makes sense. There's a certain feeling about being at home. And that's certainly what Pirate Summit meant to me, what Pirate still means to me. It feels like a community. It feels like an environment that is good, that is safe, that is like-minded, that people like to spend time with, time in, time for, whatever. Yeah, that's very much what Pirate Summit means to me.
Is it safe to say that you shaped the event according to yourself and your values and what you believe needs to be a good business atmosphere.
I absolutely think so. Yes, there is in Germany. There is this. You have it's called the ehrwürdiger Kaufmann. So basically you could say the honorable businessman or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's an old ideal that is here, and that really resonated with me back then. And then also quite a few things that over time I, as values that I gathered, also resonated with me. I think you can create business in a human kind of fashion. Business for humans, with humans, by humans, and that's very much how I also wanted this event to be, and that's also what I want to inspire with others. So to create an environment. So if we think about business, a lot of people just think about, okay, how can I extract most out of something? How can I make the most for me? And I think if you really think about business should basically, humans should not serve businesses, but businesses should serve humanity. And if you think about that and really think about maybe also a long-term view, really just staying in the game, doing good business, creating value in the world, then you might look very differently at the business than just to extract something, to maximize something, to optimize for whatever exit it might be, and then think about it in a bit more long-term. And that very much, that whole kind of philosophical arch, if you will, that inspired certainly the foundations of Pirate Summit. But it also took a few years to really find our own mojo, our own style, our own thing. It certainly was not the way to big profits, but I think it was also part of the appeal, at least to some of the people that came, that this had a different maybe background, or was built on different foundations than a few other events.
And why the name Pirate?
That's a very good question. That's from an article, I think October 30th or 28th or so of 2010. Mike Arrington wrote an article in TechCrunch, one of the most popular blogs at the time, tech blogs. And he wrote an article with the title, "Are You a Pirate?" You could just, for everyone listening right now, you can just Google it. It's still up. And there he compared pirates or entrepreneurs to pirates. And they said both were some weird relationship with a risk. Because just like a pirate, most likely is not going to find all the treasures and all the gold in the world, and will be very, very easy life. Entrepreneurs, I mean, most businesses fail, and it's super hard. It's a roller coaster. It's ups and downs, lefts and rights. And the path to success is very winding, pretty steep, and takes a long, long time, much longer than you probably think. And yet still, the entrepreneurs, we as entrepreneurs, we embark on this quest, on this adventure, and we love sailing at least as much as we love the reward, if not more so, right? That really deeply resonated with how we think about entrepreneurship, that it's not only or not about the destination, but actually about, being an entrepreneur, loving the craft, loving the doing of being an entrepreneur, and not necessarily the accolades of or any kind of benefits or outcomes that come with it, or that wait in the end. That the journey is a lot of benefit in itself. Yeah, and so that really resonated. It was really catchy. I think it was very smart to do it that way. Of course, people back then was also Pirate Bay was a big site still, but then so that was an association that a few people had. Okay, there are these illegals, so they kind of shady illegal people there. And there was the Pirate Party, which was quite popular at the time, so others thought we were in politics. So we had to find our own branding a bit, or our own, let's tell our own story. We did that over time. We made clear that we were not affiliated to any political party with any hacker site or anything. But it was a very, very smart to have this pirate theme. Very easy to remember. People wanted to be a pirate. It was kind of turned into this community thing. It became kind of coolish, and there was this R that people said. It was kind of like people could identify each other. When I go on stage somewhere, often I hear somewhere from the crowd, I hear an R somewhere, and people greet me that way. It's just it was a little bit, or certainly it was luck, but it served as a really nice branding over time. So quite happy with the choice. In hindsight, of course, it was not a very deliberate choice. It was all by accident.
Yeah, but I think great things happen this way. So they have to come naturally.
Very true.
You can't plan everything. And for every event, you've had a cool theme. What would be the theme that you prefer the most?
So it's true. So we always looked at the zeitgeist. So we thought about, okay, what is important right now? And then we chose, okay, this year we want to focus on a certain theme, as you say. And these themes were stronger during those times. A few have really resonated over a longer period of time. I think the one that I still like the most is the one, solve real problems. That's like an evergreen theme. It's very important to think, okay, if you are doing something entrepreneurial, think about doing something worthwhile. Is it really having an impact? Is this making a dent in the universe? Is this helping someone? And it might be small. I'm not talking about something big, but the next Tinder for dogs, I'm not quite sure that's really the right problem to be solved. So, and in that time, I'm not quite sure, it was 2017 or so, 2018, around there. At that time, there were quite a few businesses in the world which were not really solving a problem. And in that time, I think it was really striking a chord, but it still is the same thing. And we have a lot of issues in the world that need solving, that need addressing. I'd love to inspire people to go out and dare greatly and to solve a real problem. And that was also what we intended to do with this theme, to just inspire people to think about, what am I doing with my time?
Yeah, I loved a lot the in the black theme. I think that was a really cool theme because it highlighted the whole bootstrapping part, the whole building something without being in the spotlight. And then, of course, something that could solve a real world problem. So this was a theme that I liked a lot. And if I'm not wrong, this was a 2019, right?
Yeah, something around there, 18 or 19 again. Yeah, something then. It was not a theme that VCs appreciated very much, to be honest.
Okay.
So I think a few of the people that they felt alienated by it because we really wanted to talk about profitability, and that's not something that is very much talked about, or was not talked about much. Back then. It's very different now, but back then it was all about getting big really fast, making growth and revenue growth. So profits was not something that was
not important.
That was very interesting, because valuations, if you make them based on profits, are really going down. But if you can show, listen, we have all of this revenue, and somebody at some point might make this profitable. But if you have a multiple on the revenue, then it's much easier. Or back at that time, it was much easier to have big, lofty valuations, and whether it makes business sense was not really there. So we wanted but we felt we needed to give a little bit of different perspective, and not necessarily to go too strongly in this, or to just say there are different ways how to build a business. And one way is venture, but another way is bootstrapping. And if you bootstrap, what you need is, at some point at least, to become profitable, because the best investor is actually the customer investing the money, much better than, or not much better, but that's the most solid one, because that customer, if he likes what he gets in return, he will invest again next time. And all you have to give out is your product or your service or your value, and you don't have to give away any equity. So that very much resonated with me at the time, and also with quite a few from there. And it's quite easy to spend money. It's quite another thing to actually earn money. If you are an entrepreneur, it's important to hone that skill to actually earn money, and to earn it again and again and again and again, and not just be really good at spending money. So, but that's not a diss at any startup that chooses the VC path. But back then at least, if I looked at the ecosystem, everybody was, okay, I have this idea, I build a prototype, and now I go raise money. And it's a good idea to also have different options. or at least know them.
Yeah. And you had some really cool house rules at Pirate Summit. Can you maybe mention them? And I would love if you can explain them and what they meant.
Sure. So in the beginning at Pirate Summit, in the first few years, so we always had a certain set kind of mindset on how we wanted to approach the event. It was an invitation only event, wanted to have the right people there. But we also thought about, okay, how do we, or what is important? How do we define success for this event? And for us, it was really clear. And I know that other events also say the same, but we really meant it. We wanted to create meaningful connections. Okay. And we designed the whole event that way, that was being increased or helped or empowered. So this was really everything that we did was we want to bring people together. We want to make it really easy to connect, and we want to create an atmosphere where people can let their guards down. So then we came up with these house rules to do exactly that. So they were in the beginning, there were 5. At the end, there were only 4. The first house rule, which was later ditched, was that this is a first name conference. So we all use the first name. It's for English speaking people, it's something fairly normal. In Germany, it was Mr. Smith kind of thing. And we definitely didn't want that. It's also a different time, right? Back then, startups were just a very small scene. Everybody knew everyone. So it was really, really like that. It's very different now. It's a huge industry. But back then, it was not that casual. At some point, we dropped it because it was not longer needed. But of course, using the first name makes it easier to create these meaningful connections, right? So that's how to tie it back. And the second one was VIP is everyone. So everyone that came there was treated as a VIP. We had a fairly strong door, so you had to apply or you had to come with a recommendation. But once you were in, we didn't have a VIP area. We didn't have a speaker's lounge. We didn't have a press, whatever. All of that we didn't have. Everybody that comes in is the same. Again, here, we didn't want to have a class system. We want to make it easy to connect. We didn't want to build hurdles to connect. So again, how do you do that? Bring everybody to a level playing field, have them interact there. And that made it a fairly unique event because you could talk to a few pretty well-known investors or entrepreneurs at the bar because everybody was
very casual,
just the same. Exactly. Yeah, you would just have a drink at the bar with them, and you would speak person to person. The third house rule was no BS. So nobody wants to connect with a fake. Nobody likes BS, right? So if you want people to really connect, you need to create an atmosphere that values authenticity and that values something which is real. We had that with the whole setting there. It was very authentic, very real, a little bit rough, a little bit raw. And we also wanted to make this a house rule for people to just really let their guards down. And it still is. The last 2 weeks, I also organized two dinners, pirate dinners. At these dinners, we also have these same house rules. Why? Because rules. The dinners, yes, the same rules, because they also are to create these meaningful connections. The fourth house rule is probably also the most popular over time, is give, ask. So we wanted to create an atmosphere and a setting that values the behavior of being generous. So people just giving first and not starting to just sell. Hey, do you want this? Do you know someone that can help you with this? No, first say, and that was also the start of every conference that we did. The first question was, what can I do for you? Right? So, and that should also be the interaction between people.
Or how are you really?
Yes. And that's the question. I forgot about that, about no OBS. So the question behind that was, how are you really? And so we encourage people to ask these questions because these questions can be openers and they also reflect a mindset. So yeah, give, ask. I've heard that quite a bit also other people use. And whoever is listening right now, if you want to use these house rules, there's no copyright or no whatever to it. Please use them, make them your own. Ditch what you don't like, take others. Yeah. The last house rule is a little bit different. The last house rule is just R. What does that mean? We value people that are opinionated. We value a little bit different, a little bit people that sail against the wind. All of that we value. Yeah, this or let's put it that way. Everybody can make their own what they mean with R. So its uniqueness is behind this, etc. So we asked quite a few people in the past, what does that mean for you? And these are the things that came back. But you can be you. That's a little bit what we
can be yourself.
Mean. Yeah, exactly. That's what we mean. So these are the house rules, and they haven't changed over time. Just one of them was not necessary anymore. They served us extremely well. We got a lot of praise for them, and as I said, I still use them today, and they're just very helpful as guiding principles. I think for every kind of event, community, get together, creating connections experience.
Yeah, I've listened to your speech regarding how are you really, and I've seen people cry while you were holding the speech. So that speaks volumes of the impact that Pirate Summit have had in many people's lives. And I also have seen people really feel great in the event and share with each other in a way that I hadn't seen before. So I think if your goal was to make people have genuine connections, you have definitely achieved that. Great. And do you miss it? Because it's like 1 year and something that you are not doing a Pirate Summit anymore.
I miss the experience of being there, of having it, of just the experience of getting together. Yes, I don't miss organizing it.
Okay.
At all, to be honest. So
it was a pain.
Yeah, pain is probably the wrong word, but it was certainly something which was hard, very hard. Which didn't come with a lot of, it was more like a hobby. I gave quite a bit of my time to organize something, and there was no real business model behind it. We never really wanted to commercialize it. We were very international. We gave away female scholarships. And so people just kept coming for free. Was targeted at early stage startups, a very bad target group. So from all those check marks or checkpoints, it was just really a terrible business idea. And it was not really a business idea. It was just something that we wanted to create, and we also didn't really turn it into a business. So that hard part, that also kind of just heaviness to just say, okay, we have to do it again, or just that's just so, or we do it again, but that also means this. That was hard. That part a lot. Also at the event, the burn part. So we burned this big wooden figure after
the Burning Man.
Yeah, we don't call it the Burning Man because it's a different event, but the burn exactly. The burn basically, that certainly was a part that was very, very dear to my heart. So these parts, yes, I miss, but other parts I'm also glad that it's just behind me. I'm not looking at it in a bad way. So like having regrets really, but it was a rough kind of a road.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I remember you used to give free food, free drinks.
Yes.
And everyone from certain places could come for free. So you were very, very cheap in giving away tickets. So I remember that very, very well. And then you founded PirateX. I believe you did that from the experience of Pirate Summit, right?
Well, at some point it just made sense because so this whole event business is a very tough business. It's not, so I at least experienced it that way. To actually run Pirate Summit, which was not financially very lucrative, we started a few other conferences which were much more lucrative, which were financially also viable. We did that to hire an event team to do this year round, because Pirate Summit, if you have an event, basically you have a seasonal kind of approach. You have an event, let's say you have it end of June, you really start to work on the event maybe in November the year before, but you really start in maybe February, March. So there the real work starts. And then you need for these last 4 months, you need a team. But for 8 months, you don't really need a team. So the question always was, what do we do with this? How do we handle this? So for the other months, we started to create other products, other events to be able to really have a team full year. In the end, what we became was an event company. And then the next step was fairly simple. Okay, why not just turn it into an event agency, right? Why not do the same thing also for customers that need these same kind of services?
Was there a big demand?
These same kind of expertise. Actually, there was quite a decent demand. People knew that we were really skilled at creating exceptional experiences. So we also have Club. We still do it, which is a big party with 3,000 plus people getting together every year, which is a crazy business party. You have roller coasters there or things like that. So we had a bungee tower there and bumper cars, things like that. We always did things a little bit over the top. So that's what we were known for, and that was also what we did. And people thought, okay, I want a bit of that vibe, a bit of that atmosphere at my event, and that's why they also started to hire us. And now, so PirateX is 80% of the revenue or so is agency revenue, because during the Corona years, the whole company basically came to a screeching halt. Right? If you are an event company, events were prohibited. People could not gather. You cannot do anything, right? So it really was a crazy time, and that's where we shifted also to doing purely agency work. And we did online events there. We were really fast at being the people to go to for online events. Yes, and that and right now it's 80% agency revenue. Yes.
Yeah, regarding coronavirus, you did a crazy shift there because your revenue was at zero, and then you shifted the whole business model. You shifted from in-person events to online events in 3 months. So that was really, really crazy. How did you do that?
Well, luckily I was quite active on Twitter back then, and then I saw a little bit buzz gathering about some kind of virus in China. It was very early in, I think, January or so of 2020. And I thought, okay, if this is really a virus, and if this is really kind of, back then it was also called deadly. You saw these, I think, fake videos from China where people just fell over in the street. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I thought, I mean, they can never contain that. That was my thought. So this could come to us. What does that mean? Then we are really screwed. And we had an event coming up during Carnival then, just a few weeks after, and we were really scared.
So this was in October, right?
No, this is January 2020.
January, okay.
And we were back then also really, really scared. And what I then said is, I'm going to make a task force which comes together once a week and looks at the data and just thinks, okay, how fast is this spreading? And this is really early days. We didn't have real monitors that were just putting together data. We're really, really scared, and we're not scared, but like we're really afraid that the business would be in jeopardy. But we were ahead of others that were kind of saying, yeah, nothing is going to happen. Then March came. Then lockdowns came, and we had already prepared. Either we're going to shut down the company and send everybody on, just furlough everybody. Basically, they could sit at home, and the government would pay part of their salary, and didn't have to pay any cost then salaries. Or we would bet it all. We had a month of costs in the bank back then, and we chose to bet it all. The thing was that some of that revenue was also was already revenue that partners gave us for an event that would later come. So if that event wouldn't come, we would have to pay it back.
Okay.
So it was kind of risky, but we looked at all our options. I think it was the most productive week of my life. We had everybody together in a home office. And we also told everybody, listen, we have 1 week to figure this out, to come up with a strategy. Otherwise, everybody will not need to be basically paused. And it was super productive. And in the end, we came up with a strategy. We decided, or it was my decision, a very lonely decision, to go with online events. I said, okay, somewhere people will need to gather. We know about that everything goes digital. Why not? Why not this? And I was the only one really holding this up. And then I convinced the others, the management team first. They were kind of like, the discussion was more, okay, do you have better ideas? No, we don't have better ideas. Okay, do we really want to do this? I took most of the risk because I also had to invest a bit more money into the company to bridge that gap, because we only had one month of salaries or a cost. Then we came up with a strategy all in this 1 week. The strategy was basically, we are going to write that book about online events within a few weeks. Going to write the book about it, how to do them. Nobody knew how to do them. We're going to research whatever we could, put that together and distribute that book about online events. We talked quite extensively about it, and people downloaded it. People saw, okay, I need to do an online event. I don't know anyone, but these guys, they have written a book about it. Let's ask them whether they can help. And we had the first clients. I think this was end of March, was this 1 week of survival, finding a survival way out. Let's put it that way. And the beginning of May, the first requests came in. So it was even faster than 3 months. The first project was done in June. So it was essentially actually two months. We had a few people had to left at home. So the production part, the whole market and sales team were actually working, and they delivered then. And then we could hire them back. And in August, everybody was back, and we doubled the team end of the year. So it's really crazy. It was really, really wild. But there was a big demand then for online events, and we were very well positioned to actually do them.
Yeah, COVID, right after COVID, there was a big demand for many things. And then that demand just came crashing down. So I think many industries, the event space as well, has seen such a thing. Something that has really resonated with me is PirateX culture. Can you maybe describe it in a few words? What's the culture? What's for the employees? What's for the customers?
So the important thing is that our culture helped us to really navigate this Corona crisis. My belief is you build culture in good times to make use of it in bad times. And that's really what helped us here. Because in bad times, you cannot start to build culture, and you cannot start to, okay, now I really need you guys, right? If you haven't built that kind of mindset in good times, people are not going to be there for you. And the culture at Pirate was very much around, so we always wanted to build a culture around entrepreneurial spirit. So we did products, we built products for entrepreneurs. Mainly, that was the main target audience, but we also wanted to take that spirit, people that maybe are not entrepreneurs themselves, but they think that way. They think entrepreneurial. They love to take ownership. They love to have some agency. So the question for me was how to build that into a company. And I wanted to have a company where people could take that ownership. If you want them to actually take it, you need to give them a certain set or a certain range of freedoms, right? So they can actually take decisions themselves, basically treating them like adults, if you will. Okay. And if you build an environment like that, you have to actually trust them. So we have very much a trust-first environment coming from a trusted place. Trust enables a certain freedom. Freedom enables ownership and decision-making. And so we came up over the years, we came up with 14 rules that guide everything that we, certainly these values, also the house values are also some values that we also cherish. Authenticity, generosity, things like that. But then we made them very, very specific, and we also talked to the people to see, okay, do they resonate? Do they actually work? We live by them, or are they just on paper? and they should be a guideline for the people. The first guideline is leadership is defined by followership. So we do not assign leaders per se. You have to earn your place as a leader, and we actually want as many leaders as we can possibly have, because we want a lot of owners of the work, owners of a set of tasks to really, I am responsible for this. And this is important. We don't look at it like an organizational chart. We more look at it like a responsibility chart. Who is responsible for what? And if you look at corporates, and that's also one motivating factor, actually, by the way, I've seen quite a few corporates also from the inside, worked with them, consulted them. A lot of things I just didn't like because they were fairly slow and they didn't give people a lot of agency, and you always have to run it through higher ups, and somebody decides, but they were not really involved, and then it triples down again. So I didn't really like that. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to create structures that were not against hierarchies, but that were more with fluid hierarchies. So hierarchies that were built naturally. And we all know the people for design questions, I go to this person. We all know them. And this person then becomes the leader for these kind of questions. And there are other people that are really good at copywriting. And there are other people that are really good at, okay, we need to give some nice gifts to our employees. What are good gifts? And you know the people that are that. And why not make those implicit people, why not make them responsible for this? And these are the persons we go to for a certain thing. And then you don't look at the hierarchy and the pyramid, and you have to go up and somebody decides and you go down again. But you really go to the people that probably know best, can do best. And that really changed the game of everything that we do with that kind of attitude. And the second rule is very tied to this, is what is the second guideline? These are not the rules. It's just a guideline. Everybody is an owner, and owners take responsibility. Okay. So everybody should be owning something. Even if you are an intern, you should be owning something. You should not be just, I don't know, making the coffee, right? Some part, or maybe then you own the coffee, right? But you look that we have the best coffee in town, right? So that's kind of the because I deeply believe in that people that I want to motivate people from inside. So intrinsic motivation, not just extrinsic motivation. That's mastery, that's autonomy, and that is purpose. And all three are basically based in here. Then we were very, very quick on, or not very quick. Since 2010, we basically worked remotely, or we allowed remote work.
Fully
so we
remotely,
were very
right?
early. Yes, so we weren't fully remotely, but you could be. You could work remotely. So well before the pandemic, everybody works remote now. But we said work is not a place or time. It's something that you do. It's just not a place and not a time. It's not a company you go to work, but you do work. And you do work when you work best. We actually also have flexible vacation policies, and in the sense that you have to take a minimum amount of vacation days so you don't burn out. But we are not looking very detailed of, are you here every hour and just sitting at your desk? We want you to, if the work is done, or if you feel super exhausted, you just go take a walk. I don't know, go for a swim, go for a hike. But at the same time, if really work needs to be done and it's past the normal hour, then we also say, then the work needs to be done, right? So you work the work when the work is there, and when the work needs to be done, and also when it fits your rhythm, your biological clock, your whatever. Somebody likes to do more work in the morning. Some others like to do more work in the afternoon. So we kind of like to facilitate that. We have always had a window of time where we asked people to be there, and to keep a certain rhythm, to be available to the others. We give you trust, but if work needs to be done, you are going to be there. And we also really expect that, right? It's not like, okay, it's not my job would be the worst thing that you can say to me, right? There's no, it's not my job, right? This will be, no, like we are in the end, it's all of our job because we are responsible. We have this guideline also. I'm not going to go through all 14. If somebody wants to check them out, go to pirate.global/culture book, and there you can just read or see them all. It's all written there. Speed is almost always more important. That's one of the guidelines.
Then
because
quality,
we believe,
or just in general?
In general. We believe that, especially if you look at the big corporates, that a lot of things are just going to be talked about and talked about and talked about.
They're just super slow.
People are stuck in planning mode, and it's very important to plan, but the plan is not that important, right? But the planning is important because it makes you think of all the things you need to think about. But the plan is going to change once you really start to work, and in 2 weeks it's going to be different, and that's also totally fine. You can adapt, etc. But the planning, the thinking, is really, really important. But in the end, what matters is you need to get going, and it's not speed is almost always more important, and quality is not. That's not what we mean. It's more, don't run in circles. Just do. If you don't know something, just do it, decide, move on, check whether you are right or not. So this is very much giving the people also the right to also fail, because sometimes we will fail. We have all this culture about failing, etc. And I think it's totally okay. We have your back with this because most of the time you're going to be right just by speed, and even if you fail, you are going so fast, you're going to make up for it, and in the end, it's going to work out. Of course, that's why the almost is there. If there's something really important and really something that could have a really big impact, wait, slow down, and think this through. An extra time. You are not allowed, but it's fine to run in circles then, because then the impact might be big. Another one that I think is really important: decisions are temporary. Often we say, okay, somebody has decided something and we cannot change it. I think you should always be able to change if the circumstances change, if the context changes, if whatever, something you just didn't know, and now you know. Of course, you are going to revise the decision and you're just going to change it. And that makes it very easy to take decisions, because you say, I can always roll this back. And it's also good for leaders to actually say, okay, I'm going to decide this now. Guys, it's decisions are temporary. If this doesn't work out, we're just going to change it. And it comes with that same philosophy of, let's just move quickly. Let's just move. Then we have another one: results count, process matters. Okay. So we really look at results, and they are important. We need to know the numbers, but there is something else to this, and that's also how we get there and how we do things, and that is the process. And the process really, really matters. It's not that you just, so the means don't no, the other way. The end don't justify the means. No, yeah, exactly. That's the way around. So we look also how we do things. We try to come from a good business place, try to do them well. And we look at results from a bigger picture often, and not only a short-term transactional. So results count, process matters. But then there is another one, which is a little bit aspirational. It's just called, there must be a better way. So to never be satisfied with how things are, to just always think, okay,
never
got
settle.
This now, it's done. But yeah, never settle. So there must be a better way. Let's think about how we can, how can we still improve that? How can we maybe not do it at all? Yeah. And the last one is, work is not the most important thing in life. Okay. So we also want to address the thing that there's more to life than just work. And we are not a workplace where people should burn out and just, that everything is dedicated around this. However, that does not mean that we don't take work seriously. So that's always to be said, but it's fine to call it a day. Work can wait. I go home and do something else now. And I don't need to feel bad about it because tomorrow is another day and I'm going to just to continue with that, especially in the times. Corona was a time that was where it really helped us, where people also, there was a lot of depression, mental health kind of things. I think that was also good to give them the space to not feel guilty or ashamed because they were not totally up to speed for a certain period of time, right? So when other things are happening, it's fine to, all right, call it a day. Let's continue tomorrow.
Do you think that this kind of culture, which is a very startupish culture, I would say, can scale if you'd have an organization of 100, 200 plus people?
Yes, I think so. So there are two more I quickly want to touch because I think it also makes sense. And then I dive deeper into this. So one other one is information should be available to everyone by default. Often, that's also the question that you asked. If you are a corporate, you give everyone as much information as you think that they need.
Okay.
We think about this a little bit a different way. Let's try to give as much information as possible. Everybody should just be able to just check on things, read the meeting notes, read whatever documents there are, and make an informed opinion. And let's just try to share information as we go. I think especially if you grow, this makes a lot of sense. So people can be informed. We work with a Google Workspace. Everybody can just look into the files of all the past projects, of course, of all the whatever, and just check things out. The only thing that we don't share is salaries. Always wanted to do that for various reasons. We never did that, and then we just didn't really bother anymore. But certainly also something that other companies do share. And I really think that you can scale that. Yes, because what you in this setup, you delegate a lot of the decision making down to the team. I think what is important is that you need to think about this really in terms of so as a smaller company, you are working with individuals. And then at some point, you need to change this to processes. So it's not as important anymore to have the individuals there and to have them make all the decisions, but change the processes, but they are then the process owner. So they are an owner still, but they don't own the task, but they own the process. And that's a change that is then done. And in that process, certain people play a certain part. And then you have basically what you have is you have a startup in a startup kind of, but it's basically a team setting. And if you see yourself as a process owner, and if you have many of those, but if you have them clearly defined, you are the owner of this process and this is how your process fits in, this can scale even better, I think, than other structures. So it might feel very, very startupish. I think it's coming from a kind of network organization perspective, and networks scale immensely well.
Okay. Yeah, so from a leader's perspective, if you'd have an organization where people would take ownership, that would be amazing. I totally agree with that. But then you'd also get away some control. So I think people or entrepreneurs create these organizations which are like a vertical hierarchies so that they can still retain some control. Do you think that you lose control if you would make it more flat, more horizontal, or not?
It's a great question. That is the drawback. I think control is or you don't necessarily have better control if you run everything through yourself, or you create different problems. I think what is needed, and I think that's also something where we can definitely improve and learn, is you need accountability. You don't necessarily need control. You need accountability, because accountability leads to control. Right? So everybody in the company needs to know how do I measure whether I did a good job or not. That is super, super important. And then also as a leader, you can go to this person. Everybody knows, if I go to you, these are your 1, 2, 3 main KPIs or main measurements of a success. I can go to you and say, this is off, this is not as it should be, what's up? And then you are accountable. Accountable not meaning this person has to actually do it, but somebody has to own that metric. It's not only, I'm not that such a big fan of only metrics, but that kind of responsibility, task, etc. And I go to you, and you then look what happened and where are the things that need to be changed so that the success is back, right? So the rate and how you actually measure it. And I think that's a better way to look. The leader doesn't need to control; he needs to keep people accountable, and that means to go after, to ask questions, to be in the trenches. Actually, sometimes to really go down and say, okay, something's up here, something is wrong. Tell me about it. What is up? And that person better knows their business then, right? So they are responsible. You can expect as a leader that they take on that responsibility. And if they cannot explain, if they cannot make it transparent, then they're basically slacking. And then they are not taking that ownership that is needed in every kind of process on that journey.
Yeah, I fully agree. You mentioned before in the house rules of Pirate Summit, give, then ask, which is something that I also resonate a lot. And I believe this is also a leading way of how you do business with your customers at PirateX, correct?
Yeah. So we have this 51-49 rule. Basically, if we do a deal, whatever it is, we try to give a little bit more than the other side. In the end, it doesn't really matter to optimize for 51% or whatever. But bad business deals, they don't last.
Okay.
Good business deals last. And if you just give a little bit more than the other side, then you set the deal up so it lasts. And if it's not worth it, you shouldn't be doing it at all, right? So that's certainly something how I think about this whole give, ask thing. And also, if a customer is not happy, basically just give them a discount, return the money, whatever. Just say, okay, fine. Maybe you also say, I don't work with you anymore because it's not fair. But it's not about extracting every last drop of a business transaction. I'm always out to build relationships, and relationships should last. And in the end, good relationships always create more for both sides. And this, it's a little bit tried, a little bit, people always say it, but there's certain truth to it, to just have a win-win scenario. And we all know how this win-win feels, right? And if you feel good, if I feel good, then it's a good thing, right? Why should anybody care, or why should we change it? And having a business relationship is so much better than always having to fight for the next transaction, because it's in the end, it's so much cheaper, it's so much faster, it takes up so much less energy on things that always cause a friction, because it just works, and you just go on. And that's a point how I approach business relationships. Build a relationship, come from a place of generosity, come from a place of, okay, let's try to find something good for both of us. And then who knows, it might last years.
So in a world where people are so focused in taking, so focused in making a profit, so focused in taking advantage of the other person, why would you suggest to a young entrepreneur maybe, or to any entrepreneur, to go and give first?
I think it's just a lot of business sense. It's really, if you give something, we all know this feeling of, let's call it the favor bank, right? You do me a favor, and I will remember that favor. Somewhere I do remember that favor. If that's really important, if you tell me that you just did me a favor, right? And I will remember. If I do you a favor, then you are going to remember. And this favor bank actually is really, really strong, and we should not underestimate that. And if we think a little bit more long-term, and not in the next transaction but really in, all right, I do you a favor, you have nothing to give in return, but you are going to remember. And 2 years, you might come to me and or you might have something for me or whatever. I think that's very, very smart, especially if these favors are not very costly for me. If I can just, because it's my expertise, I can just help you an hour or 2 hours. And I have quite a few entrepreneurs that my advice or something like that, and I just spend half an hour, 2 hours with them to just help them with something. Don't charge anything for it. It's just I just spent my time, the most precious asset that I have. They are going to remember. And it's not a one-on-one return, but some of these favors that I make are going to come back at a later point in time. And I also think that this is going to compound over time. So I really believe that if it doesn't cost you much effort, time, resources, whatever, why not just do it? And if you do it, one, you are setting yourself up for a potential better success in the future. Second, it just also really, really feels good to just give something and don't expect an immediate return and just do it. And you just did it and you just move on. And we should not always fret about, and now I didn't get anything and I got a bad deal out of it. No, just give. And it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling in itself. There's a lot of good in that. But overall, I think it's a very smart business strategy.
Okay. Now, so what's next for you? Because you have been doing Pirate Summit, now you're doing PirateX. What does the future reserve for Manuel, or what do you foresee?
Well, that's something that I'm currently pondering a little bit, to be honest. So I'm thinking where to take these things next. Also, I believe there are a lot of good initiatives that are potentially starting, as you know, also with things that we might be doing and launching together. This whole podcast with Scaling the Unscalable really resonates with me. And I'm thinking hard about how to do that also in the event space with the event agency. I'm thinking about all the other businesses that I'm involved with, how to actually really scale the unscalable. I find a lot of joy in optimizing things and changing the business model of a few businesses. So my main question is, how in these businesses, how can you change from a model that has time, where you sell your time against money? How can you change that to a productized service, or to a service that is not in that transaction mode? And I think it can be done in most industries. And I'm right now trying to figure that out and try to figure out where to take that. To be honest, if I look at the event business, it gives me also a certain calmness. Why? Because everybody's talking about AI, and well, our developer is going to be replaced by AI, whatever, right? All that discussion, we can go into that, don't have to. Yeah. But what industries is AI really going to replace? I can tell you one industry it's not going to replace very soon. That's the event industry. Okay. So by no measure do I believe that events are going to go digital. And I also do not believe that AI is going to organize, so make good event concepts and going to organize events anytime soon. So it's actually something which in a time of AI and in a time of where fake is going to be abundant, fake meaning something AI produced, something not fake pictures, fake videos, something that never actually happened, authentic becomes super valuable. And if you think about it, what PirateX does is PirateX creates authentic experiences. That's the whole thing that PirateX does. Actually, it's the X in PirateX stands for experiences. And that's the core of the business. And that core is going to be very hard to disrupt with AI because, it's artificial, right? Artificial intelligence, and it's not authentic intelligence. And what we need is going to be authentic experiences, and it's going to be very valuable what we are actually creating. So in that sense, I think it's a good industry to actually be in, although right now it still does not really feel like that, or the business model might be a little bit is also ripe for a change. But that's all to be figured out, and that's a good challenge for the next months.
And you have been also writing a book for the past few months. Are you still doing that? Do you still plan to launch it anytime soon?
That's a secret. Yeah, I've been writing a book. I don't know. It's something like 50% done or so. I have put that on hold the last months, to be honest. When I have the time, I'm going to continue that book. Probably, I wrote it. I started it in a certain spirit. That spirit has very much changed. So if I'm going to write it, I have to rewrite quite a bit of what I've already written, but that doesn't really matter because the core message remains, but I would do it differently. I think. So I'm a little bit torn. I guess I have imposter syndrome. So who is going to read my book anyway, right? So nobody cares. Yet another book. So I've kind of the feeling like if I do a book, I should do it right. I should do it well. Can I really, really deliver? Do I have anything to share, anything to contribute, anything to tell? To be honest, I don't know. For now,
I'm sure you have.
I'm going to. Yeah, but that's the imposter syndrome part, right? So for now, I'm going to just write on my Substack. That's fine for now. And at some point, I might also release a book. If it's I'm only going to release it if I think it's worth existing. Otherwise, it's just going to be my own memoirs that my kids are going to read at some point, but not going to really release it. I don't know yet. Yeah. So I don't want to give anything away. And also, there's no timeline whatsoever as to when it will be published.
So you mentioned your Substack, and your topic is making business more human. What do you mean by that? In a few words.
So the main thing is that business, or so what do I mean with making business more human? Humans should not serve businesses. Businesses should serve humanity. That's the overarching kind of theme. I believe that making business more human has an impact as if you look at an individual, the team, the organization level, but also the society level. That part is very much about the society level, that please build businesses that help humanity, that help the planet, that just do good things. Build good businesses. Don't build businesses that make people unhealthy, create whatever. Just make the bad place or a worse place. And inside a business, treat your employees as humans first. Because in the end, as long as AI hasn't taken over, business is actually human to human. It's not a business talking to a business. It's a human talking to a human, right? So that's very much very. I just think we should all remember that the people that actually work in businesses, that make it run, that actually create the value in the end, they all have their desires, their aspirations, their dreams, their fears, their needs, whatever it is, their hopes. And we should just remember that these are not machines. As of yet, these are not machines, but these are humans. And let's just treat them that way. And if you do that, I think, if you really treat people like people or people like humans, then you get a big reward in the end. It's very sound business if you think long term. And it's also right. It's something really right to do. And maybe we don't talk about that. And I also don't want to virtue signal or something. I just think that if many leaders think like this, the world is just by itself will be a better place. We all go through all our stuff. We know that all our employees go through their stuff as well. Let's build a working culture that reflects that. That does not mean delivering not a good quality product, not delivering a good service or something. It actually means to invest in your people, and they're going to return it big time, and you are going to benefit from that investment big time. So it's an investment very worth doing.
Okay. Now, as a very last question, I know that you are a big proponent of AI because 6-7 years ago you were claiming at this conference that I went and looked at this video that AI will be the next revolution. Right? Do you see AI replacing a lot of job positions in different organizations? and when?
Yes,
If that's
absolutely.
the case.
I indeed in 2017 I predicted that. I think my prediction is right and will
Came
turn
true.
out right. It is coming true. I think we're certainly on that path. I don't know what your workday looks like, but I interact with one of the AI chat tools all the time. I mean, we use AI for search, etc., without knowing it. If you have a Google phone, your pictures are automatically enhanced by AI, etc. So that's been going on for a long time. Right now, with most things that I do, I rely on AI. And what is AI to me? AI is my intern next to me doing certain tasks that just take a little bit of time. Sometimes also a really smart intern, often just somebody just really helpful, summarizing something or structuring something or coming up with some ideas, 70% not useful, but 30% like, oh, okay, good ideas.
Sure.
So I don't know how you prepared for this podcast, but you could very well just ask AI what questions to ask Manuel. He's coming on the podcast. I want to talk about this. You would get a list. You would cut out from, I don't know, 20 questions. You would cut out 16, but you'll have four great questions, probably more than four. And it is basically, you just have to type the prompt, just hit enter, and you get these questions. It's a magic machine. Honestly, it's a magic machine. And it's, to me, it's like the first cell of an organism. We haven't even started. I think we're building something new, something big, very new life form. I think it's not an organic life form; it's an inorganic life form that, if it's true AI, is going to have a certain level of come up with good kind of content, but also will be able to make decisions all of a sudden when AI starts to make decisions on its own, which in parts of the world it already is. I mean, think about Ukraine, etc. It's going to be crazy. So, and we're going to see that in the business context. And all of a sudden, we are going to rely on AI, just like you are probably today relying on Google Maps. And what does that mean? Now I have an intern. Later I have a junior position. Then I have like a normal consultant, whatever. And all of a sudden, it's just top management orchestrating AI. And it's going to be wild, but that's the future that I foresee. The question is this good or bad for humanity? And how many jobs are going to be replaced? I think jobs are not going to be replaced by AI. I think that's the wrong kind of narrative. I think people are going to be replaced by other people with AI. So that is the thing. So we are going to be enhanced with AI, and these people that have the AI skills are going to be better at their job than people that don't have AI. I think that that's very logical. We have seen that again and again and again. 25 years ago, if you knew Excel, you were winning more in your workplace. If you did not know it, you were not. So it's an evolution. Of course, there will be a lot of losers, not in a bad sense, but people that are going to be losing out. They're going to be left behind, and there are going to be people that are going to rise up through this. And I really foresee that as a potential future. So do you disagree? Let me turn the tables.
No, I don't. I mean, it's still in its infancy, as you said. Like, we are seeing the first cell is evolving so quickly. It was much more far behind before, and now it's advancing at a really fast pace. I'm not really sure where it will go. I totally agree that AI is a great tool right now. I also use it for many different things personally. It's a big part of our lives, but I can't really tell how far it will go because I'm not sure how much it can advance still. It's still algorithms. It's still human programmed. Maybe if we are able to make it learn by itself, that will be a deciding factor. But I think we're not there yet. And I do compare it with our daily technical tasks. Right now, it can definitely help a junior, even help a mid-level developer. But when it comes to seniorship, when it comes to tough problems, when it comes to stuff that you can't easily find in the internet, then it quite lacks. So we're still far, far behind, but it's very promising.
So the thing is, I think it will be very good at things that are logical. So rules-based systems, for example, the AlphaGo example, which we had in, I don't know, what was it, 2017 or so, with the famous move, I don't know, whatever it was, 42 or so. So where a completely different move was found out by just having the machine play against itself. So if this is a rule-based system, you can just have it play against itself. I think you can do the same with math. Just have it play against itself and then optimize and then find out solutions, but just basically brute forcing it. And you can do the same with probably developing, right? So tough development problems can probably be solved by a machine just by trying out all the time and then learning what works and what doesn't. It's not going to replace developers anytime soon, but look at where ChatGPT started 2 years ago and where it is right now. And they are pouring money in like crazy. And of course, we have seen some diminishing progress there, but it's going to just, they find a new switch and then it's going to be exponential again. I'm very optimistic that it's not going to get worse. Let's put it that way. It's going to get better fairly quickly, and it will be a good developer soon. And the senior developers are just going to rely on these developers, these agents then to actually help us. And it's a very promising future. It's also a very terrifying future because this will mean a lot of change. And I don't know what's going to happen in between certain things. And I would love to see AI not in single hands, but basically freely available to the world. So I don't want to see it just a few big corporates controlling it. That would be bad.
I think with DeepSeek, we see an open source solution as well, right? So do you see that?
Yes, of course. There's all this talk about. Yes, absolutely good change. Good change. I think there's a lot of talk about the Chinese, etc. I think yes, we need an open source model. Others are going to follow suit to also open source their models. I mean, what's really scary is to have. I mean, if this is a godlike technology, it's technology that could be really like super intelligence. I don't want to have this in the hands of just a few people. I want to have everybody access to it because, I mean, how are you going to trust that entity? And I mean, look at the people in Silicon Valley that are currently running these big corporates.
Social media.
So there is, I don't necessarily have super big trust in their moral compass, if you will. So they are driven by profit very clearly, which is not necessarily bad. But if you have super intelligence and you're driven by profit, there's very little checks and balances there. And that's kind of scary, I think.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Manuel. I think we delved into many different topics. And for everyone who is viewing, I would like to announce that this is the first episode that we do with Manuel, but we will do a monthly shorter episode where we will pick a few topics to talk about. We'll try to discuss about different organizational challenges, some tech challenges, some event challenges maybe as well, and hopefully add some value to everyone who is watching. Again, thanks a lot, Manuel, for the amazing insights. And I'm looking forward for the next talks together.
Yeah, really nice. Really thankful as well. And until the next one.